Good afternoon, everyone. Now we'll see how to understand regular expressions. But first, we'll review some concepts. Any letter, number, or sign is known as a character. Then, a string is an array of characters, and the number of characters corresponds to the length. This string has a length of 22. Strings will be marked in quotes. Empty strings are length 0 strings and can be represented with an epsilon symbol. Single characters are length 1 strings, and strings of length greater than 1 are concatenated characters. Now, what is a regular expression? If you are programming, you want to know this, because it allows to define if a given string is valid. For example, this one. Don't worry if you cannot understand it at the moment. You'll learn how to do that soon. Regular expressions are made of characters and meta-characters, which do not form part of the strings, but help to verify them. During the presentation, in this case, square brackets, hyphen, plus sign, and question mark are the meta-characters. During the presentation, we'll denote regular expressions in italics and meta-characters in blue. Let's begin. Concatenations do not use meta-characters. They establish what must be in the strings. They admit no changes in characters, order, or number. For example, ACE only recognizes ACE. They are not so useful by themselves, but here's when things get interesting. You can ask a string to repeat some character, let's say D. An asterisk asks to repeat 0 or more times. A plus sign asks to repeat 1 or more times. A question mark asks to repeat 0 times or once. To see it clearer, let's make a comparison. These three regular expressions admit a single D, but D plus sign do not admit an empty string, and D question mark does not admit a string made of 2 or more Ds. If you want to be more accurate, you can set a number in curly brackets. For instance, B followed by a 9 in brackets will recognize only a string of exactly 9 Bs. You can also define a minimum and a maximum. Here, an F followed by the numbers 3, 5 will recognize strings made of 3, 4, or 5 consecutives F. Make sure you use this counting only when necessary. We can also make selections of character if we set the options in parentheses separated by bars. In this case, the regular expression can recognize the strings mere, mere, and more, because while M, R, and the last E are mandatory, in the second position it could be E, O, or A, but just one of them. If you then add an asterisk or a plus sign, you can make a selection in each step. Here, while C and H are mandatory in this regular expression, you can select between S, R, and E 0 or more times. This way you can recognize CH, cheer, cheese, chess, and so on. Now, you should try to get not too large parentheses, because this could be annoying. Instead, you can pack them in a simple interval using only the initial and final characters. But warning, there must be a predefined order. A chunk of the alphabet may work, but with random sets, that's not possible. These are the most common intervals: uppercase letters, lowercase letters, and digit numbers. One more thing about regular expressions is that they can build from other regular expressions. Let's see this case. It can recognize empty strings as well as combinations of one or more of these first 5 letters, followed by an X, mandatory, followed by minimum 2, maximum 4 groups made of 0 or more number 7, followed by a mandatory enumeration mark. Let's note that the counting affects all the parentheses behind it. Now remember this maximum. Regular expressions should be as simplest as possible. So, these both regular expressions can recognize strings made of one or more letters I, but the second one is better. This is important because you can get very tricky expressions which do the same than others that are simpler. Some programming languages use additional meta-characters, like that, to signal in this position that any character is accepted, a caret to signal the start, and a $sign to signal the end, like in this case. Of course, they are not mandatory, but very static. Now let's talk about the backslash. It's special because it turns any meta character into a normal character. Here, this question mark is not a meta character. It must be now part of the string which are being analyzed. Now let's see a practical case. If you have something like this, you can manage it into pieces. The first one asks a combination of one or more lowercase letters, digit numbers, that's hyphen or underscore. Note the backslash behind the dot. This could be zd.bautista. Next, a mandatory @ symbol, and again a combination of one or more lowercase letters, digit numbers, dot, hyphen and underscore. Let's say Unantes. Then a mandatory dot, and finally a group of minimum 2, maximum 6 lowercase and dots. This could be Eddie.co. Here we have it, a regular expression which recognizes email addresses. Did you remember the regular expression at the beginning? Well, you'll now be able to recognize what it means. Thank you very much and have a nice day.